You got him back on the John Fredericks Show. Joining us now, the Dean of the Business School in Liberty University, former Congressman, 7th District, Dave Brat. Hey, good to have you, Dave.
Hey, good to be on, John. Thanks.
So here we are, no deal in sight with coronavirus. You were in Congress for a couple terms. You were part of this stuff that goes on. Steve Mnuchin, the administration, Mark Meadows, the Republicans, saying we want to cap the bailout, or whatever you want to call it, the stimulus spending, the spending at $1 trillion. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer want $3.5 trillion. That's a pretty big difference. I guess they'll compromise somewhere in the middle. Also, we're arguing about whether the unemployment is $600 a week, which the Republicans are saying are a disincentive, and whether it's $200 a week, which the Republicans are saying makes sense. The Democrats are saying it isn't enough money. People need to be able to pay their rent, so we need to keep throwing money at them. And nobody can make heads or tails out of what exactly is happening there. What say you?
Well, I think you just got to use the old common sense test. When the federal government makes an edict and shuts down the entire economy by fiat, then it owes the American people. But now that is not the case. The economy's open, and we better keep it open, or it's going to be a total disaster. And so now there's 40 million job openings. And the worst thing you can do is incentivize someone against going back to work, because then they lose their benefits package. After the financial crisis, the head of the Fed said the worst part of the crisis was people lost their job skills, their human capital. You don't want that to happen. That's the worst thing you can do for people and for the economy. Right. And then lastly, you're cutting people off from their retirement programs, et cetera. So people think, hey, I'm making $100 more. They're totally wrong rationally looking forward into the future, right? You're missing your skills. You're missing your employment linkage. You're missing your benefits. You're missing your retirement package. Disaster. So you got to open things up, get everybody back into the workforce, and you need to incentivize businesses to hire. But even there, they screwed up last time. They gave a ton of money, tens of millions, to Chinese firms. Whoops. Right? So the best thing you can do is just do it through probably just the payroll tax and incentivize generally so you don't waste the money.
Well, look, the money that went, the PPP money that went to Chinese-owned firms, I mean, there was no stipulation on who owns the company. If they're U.S. companies and they had a bank account and they had employees, they were able to get access to the money, right? There was no stipulation that said, you have to be, you can't have foreign investors or be a foreign company. And so, I mean, when you look at the kind of money, the millions of dollars that went to Chinese-owned companies, I mean, these are owned by Chinese nationals, but they operate legally in the U.S., right? And so there was no way to really monitor that, right?
Right. No, that's right. And in case folks don't know, Chinese firms don't have to be audited either, thanks to Joe Biden about 15 years ago and Clinton. And so if you're holding a Chinese stock and their growth rate went from 10% GDP growth a year down to 5 and maybe down to 0 now in the coronavirus, which they sent us, you better look at your stock a little bit better.
Dave, I want to get to what you actually think this compromise will be. Both of us in favor of a payroll tax holiday. That just makes the most sense. That gives employers like myself an opportunity to hire somebody else full-time without paying the payroll. People don't realize you run a business. Payroll taxes, you got to add another 17% on. So if you're paying somebody, $50,000, nope, got to add 17% on. That's without insurance, just payroll taxes. So boom, that's $50,000. You got to add on another $8,500. It becomes $58,500. I mean, that's just reality when you run a business. Also, if you get rid of the if you have a payroll tax holiday, it's about a 7% immediate cash increase for all workers. Why wouldn't that be a good thing? Incent employers to hire people and give workers more cash in their pocket. Why is that not backed by the Democrats?
Well, because they got the group of socialists running Nancy Pelosi, right? And until you get rid of that crew and that influence, their goal is to deconstruct the United States. They're against the Judeo-Christian tradition. They're against the rule of law. They're for violence in the streets, and they're against business. They're anti-business. And so Americans can't get it through their head. They're like, no one's that way. It can't be that way. That's just, a Republican saying that. If people still believe that after all the evidence that's in, Nancy Pelosi was asked on TV a week ago, What about these people, violence in the streets and tearing down statues and using violence? And Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, said, people are going to do what people are going to do.
Unbelievable.
It's a quote, right? So my Democrat friends, I don't know what they're thinking, right? They're triggered by Trump or something, and then they lose all faculties. It's not a personality contest. You're voting for two different visions. The Republicans are for stability, the rule of law, and business growth, and the welfare of your kids. The Marxists are deconstructionists. You've got to get this through the folks' heads. It's just unbelievable what's going on right now. They're tearing the country apart.
You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network, trucking the truth across America. I'm in Cary, North Carolina today. Nick Freitas standing in for me tomorrow. He'll be guest hosting on the John Fredericks Show, also running for Congress, House of Delegates member. Right now, we're with Dave Brat. He is the dean of the business school in Liberty University, former Congressman, 7th District, and his favorite candidate for beating Abigail Spanberger is guest hosting my show tomorrow. You should come on with him. And I'm sure he'll be calling you up, right, Dave?
Hey, have me on. Fine. Good. Vote for Freitas.
So, Dave, let me ask you something. It's almost like I'm not making this up, okay? This is not The Onion. This is the John Fredericks Show, the Godzilla of truth.
Yep.
So there is a state senator in Illinois who 2 days ago put forth a bill and had a press conference, and he's elected by the people. Illinois Democrat state senator representing parts of Chicago. And he wants to outlaw the teaching of history in Illinois. He said that all the history books in the school system in Illinois need to be destroyed. He said we need to immediately stop teaching history until we can, quote, unquote, redefine the narrative in our history books. So He doesn't want you to teach. He doesn't want history being taught. I don't know how you change history without making it up. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, there was a war. They did bomb Pearl Harbor on December 7th. I don't know how you change this, right? I mean, say the Japanese didn't bomb Pearl Harbor and they came from the sky. I mean, history is history. So now you've got an elected official wanting to burn history books and not teach it until the narrative is changed.
Yeah. What
country are we in, Dave?
Yeah, well, I hate to go back to China, but the Cultural Revolution, Mao said you get rid of all the olds. You get rid of all the old habits, the old customs, the old statues, the old religion, the old respect for the rule of law for your seniors, and that's what the left is doing. I mean, it's just dot for dot for dot, and all this is my views, right? I'm not speaking on behalf of any institution or whatever, but just go back from Marx via the Frankfurt School of Philosophy, seeped into academia. They took over academia 30, 40 years ago. And I didn't think it would make its way into culture this fast. But now they're dominating the CNN headlines. And when a state senator comes out and says, I'm going to get rid of history, that's what I just got done saying, right? What do Marxists do? They deconstruct. They can never tell you after they tear down the statue, who are they going to put up? Because the fundamental failure, which separates liberals from conservatives, and Marxists even more, is the assumption about human nature, right? The Judeo-Christian tradition took 3 chapters in the good book for humanity to fall. The rest of the story is redemption, an attempt at redemption. The Marxists think they can just easily identify good people who are workers and evil people who own companies. I mean, it's the most naive philosophy ever. And ask all the congressmen and women, what fundamental values and religion do you share? And if they won't answer the question, if they don't have an answer to what is good, what is morality, I got a hint for you. Join the Marxist Club. And if you say good is good, it's just obvious. Just being a good person. That's a tautology. If you haven't read Plato's Republic, 2,400 years ago, go take a peek. Right? You need to answer that question. What is good? What is the definition of good? The ethics is about the debate on what good is. Every system of ethics and philosophy and religion has a different answer on what is good. It is not a simple question. It's the most complex question in Western Civ. And the fact that no one knows this means they haven't been teaching philosophy or religion. And now, of course, they want to get rid of history to just complete the trio.
It's unbelievable that we're even talking and having this conversation. That
Yep.
an elected official in
It
Chicago where little children are being shot in their cribs,
Yep.
being shot in strollers, and now they don't
Yep.
want to teach history.
Yep. Well, it's unbelievable. The suburbs of Richmond, who's highly educated, which claims to be highly educated, doesn't know any of this. They don't know the fundamentals, right? They went to some elite school that's got a nice brand name, but they don't know anything. Or they certainly don't believe that it's true, which matters even more, right? You might have
Right.
got it right on a multiple choice test, right? So you're clever. But you don't believe it's true, and you don't live it out. And then your society falls apart because they don't believe anything is true anymore, and there's your collapse.
Well, they're certainly going in that direction.
Yep.
And when you talk about education, I've changed my position on this in the past month. You look at all these schools that are closing down and people just not having an opportunity to read or write. As we both know, we just had Kirk Cox on, and he said this, and I kind of forgot about it until now. But he said, if you can't read at a third grade level in the third grade, your chances, he said, if you look at the statistics, your chance of getting through high school go down 80%.
Yep.
So if kids are in the first or second or third grade now, and they've been out of school for a year, well, they're not going to read at a third grade level in the third grade because they didn't have a third grade.
Right. Right. Well, and, I don't want to personalize it too much, but all these Democrats run on education. What have they done on education except ruined every major city they own? They own the school boards, right? And
nothing.
The top 4 cities have the most violence, and they got the worst education. So the Democrats always say it. The suburban people believe it. Somehow, even though they've ruined history, the high school wage rate went up for the first time in 40 to 50 years under Trump, right? The high school wage rate. And there's your track record. And now the left wants to destroy it, and it's just stunning to me. So it's depressing right now. I hope the people get the memo and turn this country around.
Well, it's got to be a wake-up call. I just got a text here from Barry in Weir's Cave. He's spot on. He said, what's little known, but which is buried in the proposed Democratic bill, the stimulus bill, $3.5 trillion, is a provision that will make all school lunches free no matter what your income level is. Also would require schools to provide meals to those who don't come to school. So let me get this straight. You don't want to go to school because you're afraid of getting COVID and nobody can work at the school. So you shut the school down and you have no education, because that's really what virtual means. You have no education. However, they're putting money in the schools to keep the schools open. So even though you can't go to school to learn math or reading, you can go to school to eat your lunch, which of course is in a cafeteria, which of course is staffed by people that make it and clean up and janitors. So those people are essential workers, but teachers aren't. It makes your head explode.
Yeah, well, the biggest curiosity is these school districts are going, 9 weeks out. It coincides almost perfectly with the presidential election, right? I mean, it's just kind of stunning to see the cynicism on the left, what they're willing to do here to win an election. And they know it's existential for them, right? If they know if Trump wins again, they cannot put through the leftist agenda, and the American people will wise up because Trump has the bully pulpit. And no one else on the Republican side's got any guts, right? Once they get into leadership, they run elections for the 40 most liberal members.
Why are they so afraid,
They don't
Dave?
run on the American themes of the
Why are
rule
they
of
so
law
afraid?
and being pro-business, et cetera.
Why are they so afraid? Why are Republicans so
they're
afraid?
scared of losing their majority. And the irony is, if they ran on rule of law, close down the borders when 40 million Americans can't find jobs, that's kind of common sense and polls at like 99% right now. I'm pro-business. I'm going to help your kid get skilled up. All this kind of stuff. Vouchers. If the school shuts down, you should get a check in your pocket so that you can educate your kid how you want. Where are the Republicans saying any of this? Where are they talking about the radicals in the streets and the training where the radicals have said on TV, I'm a trained-in Marxist, in quotes. I was trained in Marxist ideology. And the left in the suburbs, they just turn their heads. No, that's not true. They care about all good things. I mean, It's stunning. And then the left, why are they scared? Why is every CEO going along with this ESG liberal investing agenda, right? All the CEOs are going that way because the left, all they got to do, the left has to just threaten one person, the CEO at the top. Either you get your company on board or we're going to divest and we're going to come after you. And everybody's paying hush money, right? It's just like the good old mafia days. And carried out by the left. Go Google Fink at BlackRock. If you want an example, Larry Fink, BlackRock, go look it up. And it's sitting right there for you to study.
What does ESG mean?
Oh, it's environmental, social, liberal governance, social justice warrior stuff, right? And the social justice warrior, of course, cannot define justice because they want to get rid of history. So again, Plato's Republic is the first major book of Western Civ on defining the term justice. Of course, the Hebrews defined it in their tradition prior to that, and that synthesis between the Judeo-Christian religious tradition and Plato and the Greek forms Western Civ.
Unbelievable.
The left wants to talk about justice. It's Marxist justice. It's not defined, and therefore it cannot fail. All they say is, we got to get rid of these bad guys, and then they're going to promise you utopia. Well, what's it look like, folks? Please tell us what your utopia looks like. When you replace capitalism, what comes? When you replace human rights, which Marxists do, right? They don't believe in rights. They think rights are just like God claims. They think they're fake. So if you get rid of rights, what protects you, American people? Hello, suburbs, listen up. I mean, I don't know if you had any of this. Did you go to Sunday school? Read Plato, anything? Come on, let's go. Yep, crazy times.
Dave, Brat, final question because I got to take off. We're way over our time. But Trump's starting to come back now. Every poll we're looking at, Dave, he's coming back. Now, the narrative, the narrative of the fake news, they're not going to tell you this, but every single poll, he's starting to come back. Do you sense this thing starting to turn?
Yeah, well, there's a huge, go watch Bannon War Room, everybody. Just tune in once in a while. But this hydroxychloride zinc combination in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, South America, has been a total gold mine for 60 years. Now, the NHS approved all of it 20 years ago. Peer-reviewed journal articles. They won't put it on the pre-approved emergency list, right? The authority emergency list. Right now, why not? Because if they put that drug on there, then the billionaire class with Big Pharma can't put their drug on it later, right? So you heard it here first. It's been on the Bannon Show. It's in writing. It's in the FDA document, so this isn't make-believe land. Mm-hmm. And you won't believe it, right? And so the patent owners, keep your eye on Fauci. Keep your eye on the Big Pharma. And if we would have allowed hydroxychloroquine with zinc, that combo along with a stuff for infection,
right.
Tens of thousands less deaths. So the truth's going to come out on this, and they've been trying to hang this virus on Trump instead of on CCP, which produced it. And now there's a woman from Taiwan, PhD, who I met last week. She's brilliant, and she says this thing was engineered in the lab, and on top of the bat virus, they loaded a lethal missile. And the evidence is starting to come in. The American people are going to find out they were duped again by the left, just like they were on Russia. I mean, if they're not getting the pattern here, I just don't know what's going on. But they will. The American people always come around. In the end, they get it right.
Dave, thank you for being with us. Trump's going to win again. Hey, don't forget, Dave, we're launching our new digital newspaper in Virginia August 17th. You want to check it out, go to thevirginianews.com. thevirginianews.com. We're going to break through the fake news firewall in Virginia and give people real news in real time. thevirginiastar.com. Dave, Brat, thanks for being with us, Dave.
Thanks, John. Hey, have folks check me out at the Brat Pack at Falkirk if they want to follow me.